The pivotal turn of events unfolded precisely 23 minutes into an occasion that Adam Schiff had confidently anticipated would stand as the crowning achievement of his career, a moment of triumph, where he would finally possess the opportunity to interrogate President Trump on live television before an audience of 78 million Americans. He intended to pose the inquiries that he believed Trump had been evading for 8 long years, aiming to compel answers regarding Russia, alleged collusion, and the multitude of suspicious contacts, secret meetings, and compromising information that had dominated the discourse. This was envisioned as the definitive moment where Adam Schiff, positioning himself as a preeminent intelligence expert, a defender of democracy, and a champion of truth, would finally succeed in holding Donald Trump accountable for his actions. He had spent weeks in preparation, meticulously drafting questions designed to back the president into a corner, crafting inquiries that offered no favorable avenues for escape. These questions were engineered to force Trump to either admit to wrongdoing or appear visibly guilty by refusing to answer, mirroring the strategy utilized by prosecutors who already possess the truth, and merely require the defendant to offer a confession. He had his opening inquiry prepared and had practiced its delivery 50 times until it was flawless, accusing Trump of concealing contacts with Russia while ostensibly asking a question, a classic courtroom tactic intended to make an accusation appear as mere curiosity. However, what Adam Schiff did not know, and indeed had no means of ascertaining because he had spent 8 years operating under the belief that his deceptions were permanently shielded, was that Trump had recently issued a blanket declassification of everything. This included every classified briefing that Schiff had attended from 2017 through 2024, every intelligence assessment regarding connections between Trump and Russia, every report from the FBI, and every analysis from the CIA. Every document that illuminated the contrast between what Schiff had actually been told within those secure briefings and what he subsequently related to the American public had been declassified, approved for public release, and compiled into a presentation ready for display on the massive screens that flanked the presidential podium. Now, 23 minutes into the press conference, Trump was displaying the first document, which was the most critical piece of evidence and the one destined to dismantle everything. A classified intelligence brief from the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence. This was the Gang of 8 briefing from the 15th of March 2017, which had been declassified on January 15. L'Untitled Chapter. The text was projected onto screens, standing 10 feet tall, ensuring that every camera in the room could capture it, and every person watching from home could read it clearly. The document detailed an FBI counterintelligence assessment regarding the investigation into the coordination between the Trump campaign and the Russian government, with the status explicitly stating that no evidence of coordination or conspiracy had been found to date. The report acknowledged that while multiple contacts between campaign associates and Russian nationals had been confirmed, those contacts alone did not indicate a conspiracy. And although investigations were continuing, no credible intelligence suggested coordination at that time. The date on the document was unmistakably the 15th of March 2017, and the signature page displayed the names of everyone who had attended the briefing, including Adam Schiff, who was then the ranking member of the House Intelligence Committee. At that moment, Adam Schiff's face, a visage that had perfected the expression of grave concern, of a serious intelligence expert burdened by terrible secrets he could not share, began to betray him, cycling through emotions in rapid succession that should never be seen on television. Confusion, recognition, realization, horror, and finally panic. He wore the look of a man watching his entire career, his reputation, and his political identity implode in real time because he realized what was coming next and knew exactly what Trump was about to show the world. He knew that the lie he had told the day after that briefing, a lie he had repeated 227 times over the subsequent 2 years, was about to be exposed to the entire nation. This was the lie that had ignited everything, fueling the Russia hoax, the investigations, the impeachments, the appointment of a special counsel, and 8 years of conspiracy theories that destroyed reputations and tore the nation apart, all predicated on Adam Schiff's assertion that he had seen evidence which the classified briefings explicitly stated did not exist. Now, the entire world was about to witness the undeniable proof. To fully understand how the situation arrived at this frozen instant, where a single declassified document acted as the projectile that destroyed a career founded on deceit, it is necessary to reverse the timeline by merely 90 minutes, returning to the point when Adam Schiff still perceived himself as the predator rather than the prey. 2 weeks prior, the White House had issued an unusual announcement, stating that President Trump would be holding a special press conference as part of a transparency initiative. The stated topic was addressing years of misinformation regarding Russian collusion and restoring public trust in government. Intelligence. The press secretary had been specific that this would not be a standard press event, as the president intended to address the lingering questions regarding Russia, the investigations, and the impeachments, and he wished to do so by inviting his fiercest critics to ask questions directly. The press secretary announced that the president had specifically invited Senator Adam Schiff as a special guest questioner, noting that Senator Schiff had been one of the most vocal critics regarding Russia matters and would be granted a seat in the front row with first question privileges. The statement read that President Trump believed in transparency and accountability and was willing to answer tough questions from those who had investigated him. The media reaction was one of absolute frenzy, as the narrative took hold that Trump was finally going to face Schiff, the man who had been his chief antagonist for 8 years. This was the man who had led 2 impeachment inquiries and spent countless hours on cable news warning America about Trump's connections to Russia. CNN ran headlines declaring Trump finally faces his nemesis, while MSNBC hosted a special countdown titled The Reckoning. Schiff gets his chance, and even Fox News, typically favorable to Trump, could not conceal their excitement about the upcoming confrontation. Adam Schiff held his own press conference to announce he was accepting the invitation, standing at a podium in the Senate surrounded by cameras, looking every bit the prosecutor preparing for the trial of his career. He began by thanking President Trump for the invitation, stating that the American people deserved answers, truth, and accountability. He declared that he had questions the president had been avoiding for 8 years, specifically regarding Russian interference, contacts between his campaign and Russian agents, his finances and potential compromises, intelligence community assessments he had dismissed, and January 6th, along with potential foreign influence. He paused to let the gravity of his words sink in before concluding that it was time for transparency and truth, and that he looked forward to the conversation. The Democratic base was ecstatic, believing that finally Schiff would have the opportunity to question Trump directly, without Republican protectors or sympathetic moderators interfering, envisioning a face-to-face showdown of truth versus lies. Behind the scenes, Schiff's staff prepared as if it were the Super Bowl, compiling lists of questions, researching answers Trump might give, and preparing follow-ups designed to function as traps. Every question was meticulously crafted to either elicit a damaging admission or make Trump look evasive and guilty. However, what none of them knew was that in a secure facility at FBI headquarters, Director Kash Patel had spent 6 months compiling something entirely different, an 847-page dossier on Adam Schiff. This dossier documented every classified briefing Schiff had attended, every intelligence assessment he had seen, and every instance where he had subsequently gone on television and stated something that contradicted what he had been told. It tracked every phone call to reporters that preceded a leak of classified information, every coordination with FBI officials who were later fired for misconduct, every fabrication, every distortion, and every lie. All of it was documented, cross-referenced, verified by multiple sources, and crucially, all of it had been declassified the week before the press conference, properly and legally through appropriate channels, ready to be shown to the public. The trap was set, and Schiff was unknowingly walking right into it. The day of the press conference arrived at 2 p.m. Eastern Time, and the White House East Room was packed beyond capacity. Every major network was represented, including CNN, MSNBC, Fox News, ABC, NBC, CBS, PBS, along with international press and digital media. The room was so crowded that reporters were standing 3 deep against the walls. At the front of the room stood the presidential podium, with the seal behind it, flanked by 2 massive screens which the White House had announced were for transparency purposes to display any documents or evidence the president referenced. In the front row, in a special seat marked with a small placard reading Senator Adam Schiff, guest questioner, sat the man himself. He looked confident and ready, adjusting his tie, reviewing his notes, and whispering to an aide sitting behind him. He bore the expression of someone about to achieve something historic, something important that would define his legacy, believing he was about to become the man who finally held Trump accountable on live television. He had no idea he was about to become a cautionary tale regarding the consequences of spending 8 years lying about classified information when someone finally declassifies it. President Trump entered the East Room at exactly 2 p.m., prompting the press corps to stand. He walked to the podium, shook a few hands, and acknowledged people in the crowd, appearing relaxed and almost casual, lacking his usual rally energy. He seemed quieter, more controlled, like someone who knows the punchline to a very long joke. He arranged some papers on the podium, placed a remote control next to them, glanced at the screens to ensure they were operational, and then looked out at the packed room to begin. He thanked everyone for being there and stated that they had a lot to cover, noting that the press conference was about transparency, truth, and showing the American people what actually happened over the past 8 years versus what they were told happened. He paused to reflect that, for 8 years, he had been accused of colluding with Russia, investigated, impeached twice, called a traitor, a Putin puppet, and an agent of a foreign power. He noted that his family had been harassed, his businesses targeted, and his supporters demonized, all because certain people told America that he was working with Russia to undermine democracy. He continued, stating that for 8 years, certain people with access to classified intelligence, security clearances, and positions of trust had told the American public they had seen direct, compelling evidence that he was compromised. He looked directly at Schiff as he said this, reminding the audience that they were told to trust these individuals because the evidence could not be shown due to its classified nature, but that they claimed to know the truth from secure briefings. Trump gestured to the screens behind him and announced that today they would look at what those individuals actually saw, because he had declassified all of it. He declared that every classified briefing, every intelligence assessment, and every FBI report about Trump-Russia connections was declassified, approved for public release, and available online immediately for verification. He explained that the screens would show actual classified documents from actual intelligence briefings, allowing the public to see what certain members of Congress were actually told versus what they reported. He picked up the remote and announced that they would start with the person who had been most vocal about the issue, telling Senator Schiff that, as promised, he had the first question. The cameras swung to Schiff, marking his moment as he stood up with a microphone passed to him by a White House aide. Every camera in the room focused on his face. He looked confident, as this was the opening salvo he had prepared for, the question that would set the tone. He thanked the president and stated his question was straightforward. Why did Trump and members of his campaign have so many documented contacts with Russian officials and intelligence operatives during the 2016 election, and why did they repeatedly lie about those contacts and try to conceal them from investigators? It was a perfect prosecutor's question, assuming facts not in evidence and accusing Trump of wrongdoing while pretending to ask for clarification, forcing him to either confess or look guilty by hedging. The room waited for Trump to deny, attack, deflect, or go on a tangent about witch hunts, but instead, he smiled and called it a great, perfect question because it allowed him to show everyone something very important. He pressed the remote, and the screens lit up to reveal a document with official classified markings at the top and a declassification stamp across it. A classified intelligence brief from the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence, Gang of Eight briefing, dated the 15th of March 2017, regarding the FBI counterintelligence investigation into the Trump campaign, declassified the 15th of January 2025. The text was clearly visible, stating that the FBI investigation into potential coordination between the Trump campaign and the Russian government had been ongoing since July 2016. It confirmed that multiple contacts between campaign associates and Russian nationals had been investigated, but noted that to date, investigators had found no evidence of coordination or conspiracy between the campaign and the Russian government. The document stated that contacts alone do not indicate conspiracy or coordination, and while the FBI would continue investigating, the current assessment was that no credible intelligence supported allegations of campaign coordination with the Russian government. Trump let the document sit on the screen for a moment to let everyone read it and let the words sink in. Then he read it aloud, slowly and clearly, emphasizing that no evidence of coordination or conspiracy was what the FBI told the Gang of Eight briefing, which included Senator Schiff, on the 15th of March 2017. He pointed out that Schiff attended this briefing, and to prove it, a new document appeared showing the attendance log with Schiff's signature clearly visible. Trump noted that Schiff was there, saw the assessment, and signed the log, confirming he had been briefed. Trump then pointed out that the very next day, the 16th of March 2017, Schiff went on Meet the Press, and he asked if the audience wanted to see what was said. A video clip played of Adam Schiff on MSNBC responding to a question from Chuck Todd with his signature grave expression, stating, "I have seen more than circumstantial evidence of collusion between the Trump campaign and the Russians." Trump paused the video and repeated the phrase, "more than circumstantial," noting that Schiff said this on national television the day after the FBI explicitly told him they had found no evidence of coordination or conspiracy. He looked at Schiff and asked if he was lying to Chuck Todd or lying in the classified briefing, because those two things could not both be true. The room went completely silent, with every eye on Schiff, and every camera zoomed in on his face, which had lost its confidence and replaced it with the look of a man realizing he had walked into an inescapable trap. Schiff opened his mouth to respond, claiming the president was taking his words out of context. But Trump interrupted, offering to show more context as the screen changed to a timeline with dates on the left and events on the right. The timeline displayed the March 15, 2017 Gang of Eight briefing, reporting no evidence, followed by Schiff on MSNBC on March 16, claiming more than circumstantial evidence. It listed the 20th of March 2017, with Schiff on CNN claiming evidence worthy of investigation. The 15th of May 2017, with Schiff on MSNBC claiming evidence was not circumstantial. July 21, Liang Qianling Yishiji, with Schiff on CNN claiming plenty of evidence. And the 18th of September 2017, with Schiff on MSNBC claiming more than circumstantial evidence. The timeline continued, scrolling date after date and appearance after appearance, showing the same claim of "I've seen evidence" on different shows. Trump let the long list scroll, noting that Schiff went on television 227 times over the next 2 years, claiming to have seen evidence of collusion, a count verified by his staff, reviewing every interview and show appearance. He pressed the remote again, and a supercut video began playing Schiff on different networks on different dates, saying the same thing over and over. "I've seen direct evidence, more than circumstantial evidence, evidence in plain sight. Plenty of evidence, and abundant evidence." In the corner of the screen, a counter ticked up, showing which appearance it was, climbing from 47 of 227 to 89, and then 143, creating a devastating visual of his own words repeated for nearly a minute in dozens of settings. When it finished, Trump looked at Schiff and stated that he said it 227 times, but the actual classified briefings he attended and signed for said the opposite, that no evidence was found, asking again if he was lying to the intelligence community or the American people. Schiff tried to respond, his voice lacking its earlier confidence, claiming the intelligence picture evolved over time. Trump cut him off to examine how it evolved as more documents appeared in a month-by-month sequence. A May 2017 Gang of 8 briefing update showed no new evidence of coordination, noting that FISA's surveillance on Carter Page and interviews with George Papadopoulos revealed no evidence of conspiracy. Yet, Schiff appeared on CNN 3 days later, claiming evidence of collusion was hiding in plain sight. A July 2017 briefing noted that multiple interviews with campaign associates, including Flynn, Manafort, Page, and Papadopoulos, were completed with no evidence of conspiracy found to date. Yet, Schiff appeared on MSNBC 2 days later, claiming he had seen direct evidence of collusion. A September 2017 briefing regarding the Steele dossier assessment stated the FBI determined the primary source was not credible. Key allegations remained unverified. Several allegations were likely fabricated, and the dossier should not be considered reliable. Schiff's response was to continue citing the Steele dossier publicly as credible evidence. Trump walked through these methodically, one briefing after another, each stating no evidence was found, and each followed by Schiff going on television to say the opposite. Trump noted that every single briefing told him the same thing: no evidence, no coordination, no conspiracy. And every single time, Schiff walked out of that secure room and told America he had seen evidence. He put down the remote and declared that this was not evolving intelligence, but systematic lying. Trump then picked up a different document to address Schiff's phone calls, noting that when classified information kept leaking to the media, the FBI investigated by tracking leaks and obtaining phone records, including Schiff's. A new, precise timeline appeared showing the 12th of December 2016 phone call from Adam Schiff to a CNN producer lasting 15 minutes, followed by a CNN story on December 13 about Intel chiefs presenting claims of Russian compromise efforts. It showed the 18th of December 2016 call to a New York Times reporter lasting 23 minutes, followed by a December 20 story about British intelligence sharing evidence. It showed a January 10, 2017 call to an MSNBC producer lasting 19 minutes, followed by a January 11 story with more classified details. The pattern repeated over and over, showing Schiff's phone call to a reporter or producer followed within 24 to 48 hours by a story containing classified information, with the timeline showing 43 instances over 2 years. Trump let everyone absorb this, stating that Schiff didn't just lie about what he saw in briefings, but leaked what he saw, taking information he was legally obligated to protect and giving it to friendly reporters before going on TV to confirm the stories he had leaked. He looked directly at Schiff and declared that this was not oversight, but propaganda, and a felony involving the use of security clearance as a political weapon. Schiff stood up again to protest these characterizations, but Trump interrupted to clarify that these were phone records from an FBI investigation into leaks, documenting his number calling reporters, followed by stories with classified details from briefings he attended. Trump pressed the remote to show more phone records, asking if he needed to show all 43 or if Schiff got the point. Schiff sat down, knowing where this was going and that he couldn't stop it. Trump shifted to a new topic while maintaining a calm, conversational tone that made the facts more devastating, bringing up Ukraine, the September 2019 phone call, the whistleblower, and the impeachment. Schiff's jaw tightened, as this was his worst scandal, the one he had never fully explained. Trump reminded him that he opened the impeachment inquiry hearing in September 2019 as chairman of the Intelligence Committee, by reading what he claimed was the essence of Trump's phone call with President Zelensky. A video played of Schiff at the hearing speaking with dramatic flair, claiming the president communicated a message about doing favors, demanding dirt on a political opponent 7 times, and making threats. Trump stopped the video and noted that this is what Schiff said on the record while the world was watching, but pointed out the problem was that he never said those things remotely. He showed the actual transcript on the screen with highlighted sections showing the actual conversation, which included asking Zelensky to look into corruption and mentioning Biden, but nothing like Schiff's 7 times, make up dirt or threats. Trump accused Schiff of completely fabricating dialogue, making up quotes, and putting words in his mouth during an impeachment hearing, noting that when Republicans objected, Schiff claimed it was parody. Trump's voice rose slightly as he questioned using parody in an impeachment inquiry, accusing Schiff of reading complete fiction into the congressional record while millions thought it was real. He pulled out polling data showing that 63% of people who saw the performance thought those were Trump's actual words, because Schiff presented it as the essence of the communication, not as parody. Trump called it fraud and fabricating evidence in an impeachment proceeding. The room was stunned, and even reporters who had covered the story were seeing the stark contrast between Schiff's theatrical reading and the actual transcript displayed side by side. Trump continued to discuss how the impeachment started with the whistleblower, recalling that someone filed a complaint about the Ukraine call, and Schiff went on television claiming he had no prior contact with the person, quoting Schiff saying, "We have not spoken directly with the whistleblower." A video of Schiff saying exactly that played, and Trump declared it a lie, revealing that Schiff's staff met with the whistleblower 3 times before the complaint was filed, helping him find a lawyer and craft the complaint. Phone logs appeared showing calls and meetings in August 2019 between the whistleblower and Schiff's staff prior to the complaint filing in September, followed by Schiff's claim of no contact. Trump noted Schiff was caught and had to issue a weak correction, but the damage was done as impeachment was launched based on a complaint his office helped create, while he lied about his involvement. Trump then picked up a newer document regarding the Hunter Biden laptop story from October 2020, recalling how the New York Post broke the story of emails showing potential corruption and crimes 3 weeks before the election. He stated that Senator Schiff did something remarkable that might be his biggest lie of all. A new classified document appeared, an FBI briefing to the Senate Intelligence Committee in October 2020 regarding the laptop, confirming the device was authentic, had been in FBI possession since December 2019, and that forensic analysis confirmed the emails were genuine with no evidence of Russian involvement. The attendance sheet showed Schiff had been briefed. Trump read it aloud, emphasizing that the FBI told Schiff the laptop and emails were real and unrelated to Russia, yet questioned what Schiff did next. A video compilation played Schiff on different networks over a 3-day period in October 2020, calling the story a smear from the Kremlin and classic Russian disinformation. Trump pointed out that Schiff went on television and called it Russian disinformation, even though the FBI had just told him it was real, and he had seen the briefing confirming its authenticity. He accused Schiff of lying 3 weeks before an election, position and clearance to spread disinformation while calling the truth disinformation. Trump pulled out more documents to address the letter signed by 51 former intelligence officials, claiming the laptop story had the hallmarks of Russian disinformation. The letter appeared on screen with signatures visible, including Brennan and Clapper. Trump noted this letter gave social media platforms and the media the excuse to censor and ignore the story, and gave Biden the excuse to dismiss it in the debate. Trump pressed the remote to reveal declassified emails from Schiff's staff director to multiple former intelligence officials dated the 16th of October 2020 with the subject Urgent Need Letter on Laptop Story. The emails detailed talking points, suggested language, and coordination on timing and release, showing Schiff's staff providing the framing. Trump accused Schiff of orchestrating the entire thing, getting 51 officials to sign a letter calling real evidence disinformation to provide credibility for media and social media censorship, all based on a lie he knew was false, because he had been briefed it was real. Trump's voice hardened as he stated the laptop and emails were real. Schiff knew it because the FBI told him, yet he suppressed it to influence an election, calling it election interference rather than national security protection. Trump stepped back, took a breath, and spoke in a quieter, more intense voice, asking Senator Schiff the same question Schiff had been asking him for 8 years. After a long pause with every camera on Schiff's diminished figure, Trump asked, "How many times did you lie to the American people?" In the absolute silence, Trump listed the potential answers. Was it the 227 times he claimed to see evidence of collusion that briefings said didn't exist? The 43 times he leaked classified information and confirmed it on TV, when he fabricated the Ukraine transcript, when he lied about the whistleblower, when he called a real laptop Russian disinformation, or when he organized 51 officials to lie before an election. Trump's voice rose in intensity as he asked how many times Schiff used his security clearance as a weapon, leaked for political gain, and lied to cameras about secret briefings. He gestured to the screens filled with documents, reminding everyone that Schiff spent 8 years calling him a liar, traitor, and Russian agent, impeaching him twice, and running investigations to destroy him while telling America he was compromised. Trump stated that the entire time, Schiff was the one lying provably, documentedly, and systematically. He leaned on the podium, asserting these were not theories or partisan attacks, but declassified government documents, including signatures, phone records, and emails that contradicted Schiff's statements. He declared the evidence was not debatable, accusing Schiff of lying hundreds or thousands of times, using his position to leak and spread propaganda, fabricating evidence and suppressing truth while wrapping himself in the flag. He straightened up and asked one last time, with all evidence on display, how many times Senator Schiff lied. The room was dead silent, with 78 million watching at home. Schiff opened his mouth but said nothing, as every document, timeline, and contradiction was undeniable. Trump waited, letting the silence stretch so America could see Schiff had no answer. Finally, Trump spoke again, appearing almost sad, stating Schiff had no answer because it was hundreds or thousands of times, likely lost count. He noted Schiff spent 8 years as the face of the Russia investigation, the trusted expert who claimed to see evidence others couldn't, yet was lying the whole time, using classified information as a sword and shield to leak helpful narratives and hide hurtful ones. Trump gathered his documents, stating the American people deserved the truth, and someone who used security clearance to protect rather than manipulate them. But instead, they got Schiff. The remaining 37 minutes were anticlimactic as reporters asked questions and Trump answered. But the story was already written the moment Schiff couldn't answer. Schiff sat frozen, neither asking questions nor defending himself, and did not leave to avoid looking like he was running away. Trump kept circling back to the topic. When asked about FBI reforms, he noted the documents showed the FBI was telling the truth, while Schiff kept lying. When asked about intelligence community morale, he pointed to the screen, stating the community was honest and gave accurate briefings. And it wasn't their fault members of Congress lied about what they were told. Each time, cameras cut to Schiff's expressionless face. When the conference ended at 3:43 p.m., Schiff stood up immediately and pushed through the crowd toward the exit, with his aide running interference. Reporters swarmed him, asking if he disputed the documents, if he leaked information, why he claimed to see evidence when there was none, and if he would resign, but Schiff said nothing and disappeared through the doors. Trump stayed for another 15 minutes, looking relaxed and satisfied. Within 2 hours, the internet exploded with clips everywhere. The "How many times did you lie?" question hit 93 million views in 90 minutes, and footage of Schiff's face reacting to the first document got 81 million views. Comparisons of his statements to the briefings hit 127 million views, and the supercut of his 227 appearances reached 76 million views. The contrast between the fabricated Ukraine transcript and the real one got 98 million views. Conservative media went supernova with headlines about Schiff being destroyed by documents and 8 years of lies exposed. They played the clips and analyzed the timelines and phone records, showing leaks. Liberal media struggled to defend him. MSNBC and CNN panels couldn't ignore the evidence of his signature on briefings, saying no evidence, followed by his TV appearances claiming the opposite. Attempts to provide context about evolving intelligence failed because Schiff had claimed to see direct evidence when the briefing explicitly stated no evidence, which was a contradiction, not evolution. The documents were unambiguous with dates and signatures. Social media was brutal, with Schiff lead trending #1 worldwide. Even liberal accounts expressed betrayal, unable to defend the undeniable timeline and documents. The fabricated transcript and the suppression of the laptop story were cited as career-ending. The New York Post ran a special edition claiming vindication. By midnight, every major news organization led with the story of Schiff, facing questions after the declassification. The next week was a political earthquake, with 27 ethics complaints filed within the first week regarding Schiff's handling of classified information. The Justice Department announced a review of the FBI leak investigation for potential Espionage Act violations. In the Senate, Republican calls for Schiff's removal from the Intelligence Committee were joined by Democratic senators, leading to a vote. The Senate voted 67-33 to remove Schiff from the committee pending investigation, with 17 Democrats voting against him, signaling they were not defending him. Polling was catastrophic. Schiff's approval in California dropped 29 points to 29% in 1 week, with 79% of voters believing he lied and 71% saying he should resign. Investigative journalists did deep dives. The Washington Post published a dossier matching his 227 statements against briefings, confirming a systematic pattern. The Wall Street Journal focused on the leaks and phone records, interviewing former FBI officials who confirmed overwhelming evidence of coordination. Politico detailed his collapse from an untouchable figure to a cautionary tale. More declassified documents revealed Schiff requested investigations to generate headlines and communicated with fired FBI officials. By week 4, Schiff agreed to an interview on MSNBC, where he looked tired and claimed documents were out of context and intelligence evolves. The host interrupted, noting his signature on a no-evidence briefing, followed by his more than circumstantial claim, was a direct contradiction. Schiff tried to claim he couldn't discuss classified information, but the host reminded him it was declassified. He stumbled through responses, and the viral clips of his inability to explain the contradictions left him looking defeated. 3 months later, the Senate formally censured Adam Schiff by a vote of 71 to 29, with 21 Democrats joining, citing his systematic misrepresentation of classified information, leaking, fabrication of evidence, and abuse of security clearance. He became only the 5th senator in history to be censured. Book deals and speaking engagements were canceled, and the 51 intelligence officials involved in the laptop letter faced their own scandal, with many claiming they wouldn't have signed if they knew it was politically orchestrated. HBO announced a documentary titled The Schiff Show to detail the lies and leaks. 6 months after the press conference, Schiff held his own in Los Angeles, looking diminished as he announced he would not seek re-election to focus on other priorities. Everyone knew he couldn't win, as internal polling showed him losing a primary by 38 points. He gave vague answers to questions about regrets or apologies and walked away. Katie Porter announced she would run for his seat, emphasizing the need for truthfulness and not using classified information as a weapon, and she won the general election by 31 points. Schiff's career ended not by a traditional scandal, but by the declassification of documents showing he lied for 8 years. 1 year later, Trump told a journalist he had no regrets about the declassification, stating Schiff destroyed his own career by lying. Trump explained he had planned the declassification for years to show the truth, noting that not one briefing ever said there was evidence of collusion, despite Schiff's 227 claims. He felt vindicated that the truth finally came out. He advised people to be skeptical when someone claims to see classified evidence they can't show, as Schiff used that cover to lie until the receipts were revealed. The declassified documents became part of the historical record, used in journalism schools to teach verification and skepticism of secret evidence claims. Law schools taught the case in ethics courses regarding the abuse of security clearance and the duty of accurate representation. The TENSA's intelligence community implemented Schiff rules, requiring written certification from Congress members that they won't misrepresent briefing contents under penalty of clearance loss. A congressional reform bill, nicknamed the Schiff Accountability Act, passed with bipartisan support to create oversight for such statements. Adam Schiff was one of 11 who voted against it. His Wikipedia page was rewritten to lead with his documented pattern of misrepresenting intelligence, his censure. His legacy shifted from standing up to Trump to lying about classified information and getting caught. The moment that ended his career became one of the most watched in history, because it showed, with receipts, that what he told America was the opposite of what he was briefed on 227 times.